This is how I built a city around a roller coaster in Theme Park Tycoon. This is Batman, the Bat's Revenge, just one of many coasters in my theme park. There's a lot of things that went into the name, the theming, and the layout of this ride, and in this video, I'm going to show you just how I built it. So, without further ado, this is how I built Batman, the Bat's Revenge. Now, before we start talking about this ride, we need to talk about the ride that came before it. Back before I built this coaster, there was another one in its place called Batman the Ride. You can probably start to see where the name came from, huh? The original Batman coaster was the third ever roller coaster that I put in this park, and the first to feature a completely original layout. The first was a junior coaster that stood right about here back when my park was new, and the second was this Wild Mouse coaster I named Sidewinder. I really owe a lot to Batman the Ride because it was the first coaster that I took seriously and used the advanced editor to build. Without it, I may never have gone on to build the rest of the park and the other coasters in it. If you couldn't already tell, Batman the Ride was based heavily on the Batman coasters from the various Six Flags parks, namely Great Adventure because that's my home park. I made the layout and color scheme nearly identical to the Batman at Great Adventure and added some rock work around the ride just to have some cool near-miss elements. For the time, this was my best work, and I was super proud of it when it was finished. But after I got better at coaster building and knew how to make smoother and better coasters, Batman started to look more and more dated. I kept it for a while, but after I wrapped up my sixth coaster, I finally decided it was time for Batman to go. But instead of getting rid of the ride completely, I chose to instead redo it and make it into a smoother, more exciting coaster. So I tore the ride up, got rid of the rocks, and started work on its successor, Batman, the Bat's Revenge. The old Batman was made from the Tube Across Trains Vekoma SLC style model, so I opted to go for the 4 Across Trains B&M invert model instead, just to add that little bit of extra improvement to it. I also wanted to change the color scheme from yellow and black to the blue and gray design found at Six Flags Over Georgia, just to differentiate it a little bit more from the old one. When designing the layout for this new coaster, I again kept the real-life Batman coasters in mind. The first two elements, the vertical loop and the zero-G roll, I made identical to the real thing. After that point, though, is where it starts to differ. I had the ride go into an upwards double helix because it's an intense moment that a lot of inverted coasters are known for. Then a drop to regain that lost speed and into another vertical loop, then a cobra roll, another zero-G roll, and one last vertical loop to close out the ride with a graceful turn back to the station following it. When all was said and done, the new Batman had one extra inversion than the old one did, which I was pretty happy about. Now with the layout done, it was time to start thinking about theming. Believe it or not, I actually did come up with the story for this ride, although it is a bit of a loose one. The story is that some villain like the Joker is rampaging through Gotham City and has Batman in a corner. He's hiding in a train tunnel before getting his power back and flying into the city to stop him. While it is a pretty cool theme, it gave rise to one small problem. If I wanted this theme to work, I'd have to build a literal city from the ground up with buildings and trees and skyscrapers. The complexity of the challenge scared me, so I took a hiatus from the game entirely and didn't touch the new coaster for a good few months. But not for forever. Before long, I had picked up the game again and was determined to get this thing done. I made a list of all the things I wanted this ride to do and decided that I would just build the major structures that the ride would interact with and sort of go from there. So I built a gray skyscraper that fit inside the double helix so it would look like Batman was flying around it, a billboard that the train would burst through, and most notably, a bridge that the train would weave under and over. The bridge might just be my favorite part of this whole build. I'm so proud of the way it came out. I based it mainly on the Golden Gate Bridge, and at one point even planned for it to be red, but the more I thought about it, I felt that gray might suit it a little better, considering this is Gotham City and all. But to pay homage to what could have been, I added a small red car on the bridge, using the exact same shade of red that I would have used. Once I had those built, the rest just sort of fell into place. I built some buildings in between the landmarks and roads to connect them, even putting guardrails for the cars and sidewalks to add that little extra bit of detail, because it really does go a long way. After the buildings were in place, I added some nature items like bushes and trees and even added a lake with some rocks just for some variety. And just like that, it was all finished. This is probably my favorite coaster I've ever built just because of all the planning that went into it and the complexity of the buildings and the structures. I love how the ride weaves through the city, it just looks so cool. Definitely my best coaster to date and one I'll always be proud of. Thank you so much for watching all the way through. It means so much to me, and remember, if you want to see more roller coaster videos just like this, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. See you in the next one.